A very good morning and warm welcome to you, dear students, to your history class. Today we will be studying chapter 3, Effects of British Rule. In this lesson you will see how the British merchants, traders arrived in India and what changes they caused. As you can see in this picture, this beautiful picture, which talks about a lot of human emotion, people were taken unawares. You see, they are all shocked. They are terrified when the Britishers came. When the Britishers arrived, everybody was very terrified. So let's march into lesson, shall we, and learn about it. Let's do an activity. Identify the discoverers and which place did each discover. There are 3 discoverers, sailors they were. Let me know whether you know these people. I'll give you a minute to think. They are very famous sailors, explorers. They were in search of India. That's a clue for you. Okay, let me tell you. First one is Bartholomew Dias. He is a Portuguese sailor and he discovered the African continent. He basically reached at the Cape of Good Hope, that is at the tip of African continent. The second one is Christopher Columbus. He was an Italian sailor who discovered America. And lastly, the third one is, do you know, children? It's Vasco da Gama. He was a Portuguese explorer who discovered India. He reached at Calicut. Not Calcutta, Calicut. All of them want to reach India, but only Vasco da Gama reached India. Similarly, other Portuguese, Dutch, French and British explorers and merchants also businessmen, they wanted to trade in Indian market, so they came to India. Now let us see next slide. Why did the Europeans or the Britishers come to India? All these Europeans, Dutch, Portuguese, all these people, why did they come to India? Let us watch in this video and find out. Pay very good attention. Later on I am going to ask questions based on this video.
We are going to see about arrival of Europeans to India, which is the first most important topic under modern India's history. In 1497, the Portuguese king Manuel I sent the navigator Vasco da Gama to find a sea route to India via the Cape of Good Hope at the southern tip of Africa. Vasco da Gama reached the port of Calicut on the Malabar coast on June 18, 1498, and his fleet returned to Lisbon, Portugal in 1499. The news of the Portuguese success in crossing the Indian Ocean and reaching the richest spice port in India caused great alarm in Venice, Italy, because the Venetians were Europe's main traders in Asian spices, which they bought in Egypt. This trade was highly profitable, and the Venetians feared that the Portuguese were rivals. Portuguese merchants would sell spices more cheaply by using new sea routes. The Portuguese set up a trading empire in the Indian Ocean, capturing and fortifying all the leading trading ports. They controlled the major sea routes between India, the Middle East, and the Southeast Asia. The Portuguese made Goa their capital of India. The city became an important European settlement. The Portuguese supremacy in the Indian Ocean lasted for just over 100 years. Portuguese ships could carry a large amount of cargo and were also heavily armed with a number of heavy cannon. Indian ships were smaller and made of planks held together with coir, that is coconut fiber ropes, instead of with iron nails, which is used by the European people. Before the Portuguese arrived in India, Indian ships carried no weaponry at all. The armed trading methods of the Portuguese in India had important consequences. Dutch and British merchants adopted very similar methods in the 16th century. The British East India Company was founded in 16th century, exactly at 1600 here. The Dutch East India Company was formally incorporated 2 years later. Although the Dutch merchants of Amsterdam had been trading in the Indian Ocean as early as 1595. The arrival of the British and the Dutch in India was unwelcome to the Portuguese, who tried to keep the control of the Asian trade. Portuguese hostility and the long war between Holland and Portugal's neighbor Spain resulted in the Dutch East India Company desiring to drive the Portuguese out of the spice trade. The Dutch were much stronger at sea than the Portuguese, and within 50 years they had reduced the Portuguese maritime empire in India to a shadow of its past. The British East India Company, by contrast, was much weaker. At first, it did not engage in wars of expansion. In the 16th century, it acquired 3 independent sovereign settlements in India. Number 1, Madras, now called Chennai; 2, Bombay, now Mumbai; and 3, Calcutta, now Kolkata. And each grew into substantial trading ports. The ports were all fortified with sea walls and cannon. The British Company, like the Dutch, raised a small army of professional soldiers. After 1700, the British East India Company was strong enough to equip a large number of well-armed ships for trading in the Indian Ocean. In the 1720s, the French government granted a charter to a French East India Company to trade with India. The French made their headquarters at Pondicherry in southern India. Within 20 years or so, the French had become very powerful in India and were competing successfully with the British people. The commercial competition between the two companies soon led to political quarrels. In the 1740s, the French and Britain supported rival Indian rulers in internal wars. Military and naval conflicts resulted from these political involvements, with a victory for the British in southern India.
So children, you have seen why the Europeans came to India and how the wars they fought to gain supremacy over India, because India had a lot of spices and lots of things which they could take to their countries and sell them. Now let us look at the explanation of this lesson of the first part. Today we shall study the first part. In this explanation you learn about the establishment of the East India Company, British and Marathas, subsidiary alliance, and Chhatrapati Pratap Singh. Watch the explanation, attempt bravely, students. Alright?
Morning session. Today we are going to study chapter 3 of history. The name of the chapter is Effects of British Rule. The topics we are going to cover are establishment of East India Company, British and Marathas, subsidiary alliance, and Chhatrapati Pratap Singh. So before beginning today's lesson, let's check your previous knowledge. Just think again the answer of these questions. What is colonialism? Yes, absolutely right. Colonialism means exploitation of one country by another by capturing its territory and making colonies, and such countries try to establish their supremacy on another countries. Now, which countries established their colonies around the world from 16th century onwards? Good. These were European nations like Portugal, France, and England. Where did these European nations establish most of their colonies? Very true. They established their colonies in America, Africa, Asia, and in Asia, particularly in India and Southeast Asian countries. Why did Europeans come to India? This is the easiest answer. Yes, they come for the purpose of trade. So, let's begin our today's lesson. As you know, many explorers began their journey in search of India, but finally Vasco da Gama reached Calicut, a coastal area of India. This place you can see on the map. This is Calicut, which is now known as Kozhikode. As Mumbai was earlier known as Bombay and its official name now is Mumbai, in the same way Calicut's official name is Kozhikode. So in this way, many European powers reached the Indian coast due to geographical discoveries. There was a race among people of all European nations such as Portuguese, Dutch, French and British to establish their dominance in Indian market. But when Britishers came to India, Portuguese were already settled and gave a bitter resistance. It means they did not accept their presence and opposed them. You can see that in today's life, in real life also, we have to face such opposition. Sometimes when we go to some new institution or in some new organization, so such opposition is faced. So the same thing happened with the Britishers. Not only the French, but the Dutch and the many Indian rulers also opposed them. As you have studied in previous chapter that there were 3 wars fought between French and British, which are known as Carnatic Wars. Now we will see the opposition faced by Britishers from Marathas. When Britishers came to India, Mumbai was the main city in western India. Marathas had a strong hold on areas in and around Mumbai, and Britishers tried to acquire those places. And you can imagine, when you try to acquire someone else's territory, what would happen? Obviously, there would be a war. But how the Britishers entered into Maratha politics? It was only after the death of Peshwa Madhav Rao I, who was the 4th Peshwa of Maratha clan, that the Britishers entered in Maratha politics. And it would be possible only when Madhav Rao's uncle Raghunath Rao sought help from the Britishers. Why? Because he wanted to be a Peshwa. 3 wars took place between these three, between Britishers and the Marathas from 1774 to 1880. Now we will see what happened after First Anglo-Maratha War. Treaty of Salbai. First Anglo-Maratha War came to an end with the Treaty of Salbai, signed on May 17, 1782. Marathas fought unitedly in this battle and they proved superior and they won the battle, and in the end they signed a treaty with the Britishers in the place known as Salbai, which is situated in Gwalior district, Madhya Pradesh. Now we will see the terms and conditions of Salbai Treaty. The company will retain the control of Salsette and Baloch and acquired guarantees that the Marathas would defeat Hyder Ali of Mysore and retake territories in the Carnatic. Now Salsette is an island in Mumbai and Baloch is the earlier name of city Bharuch, which is in Gujarat. And Marathas had to guarantee that they would defeat Hyder Ali and they will take their former possessions which are in Carnatic from the ruler of Mysore, Hyder Ali. The British in return accepted Narayan Rao's son Madhav Rao II as the rightful Peshwa and pensioned off Raghunath Rao. However, we can say that this peace treaty was just a temporary attempt because the Second Anglo-Maratha War broke out in 1802, 20 years after the Treaty of Salbai. Now look at this map. You can see Gwalior. We were talking about Salbai, which is in Gwalior. And these places on the right side of the map, the blue color, are Carnatic places, which are today's Tamil Nadu and southern Andhra Pradesh. Next, we move forward and see what were the causes of Second Maratha-Anglo War. Subsidiary alliance. Alliance here means again an agreement between two countries or an organization for mutual benefit. In 1789, Lord Wellesley arrived in India as a Governor General, and his purpose was to establish the British dominion all over India. And to fulfill this purpose, he signed subsidiary alliance with many Indian rulers. Under this alliance, the Indian rulers were assured of British military help. But there were some terms and conditions. Indian rulers had to maintain British army in their court. They also have to pay cash or a part of their territory to the company for its maintenance. The rulers won't have any alliance with any other power except Britishers. And those Indian rulers won't declare any war against any power without the intervention or intermediation of the Britishers. In this way, Britishers established their dominion in the internal affairs. The ruler would accept a British resident in his state. Means military will also be there in the court. There would be one officer as a resident in their state. So under this alliance, a treaty was signed with the name of Treaty of Versailles, which was signed between Bajirao II and Britishers in 1802. But this treaty was not accepted by many Maratha Sardars because they knew whoever accepted these conditions, they lost their power and they had to accept and surrender the authority of the Britishers. And this led to the Second Anglo-Maratha War. Now we will see the reasons of Third Anglo-Maratha War. Marathas wanted to retake their old possessions from the English. The defeat of the Marathas in the Second Anglo-Maratha War led to the increased interference of the British in the Maratha state. As we have already discussed, that there was an officer in the ruler's court, there was an army in their court. So everywhere Britishers were interfering in the matters of the Indian rulers. So Bajirao II could not tolerate this interference and he declared a war against the Britishers. He was defeated in the war and surrendered in 1880. With his surrender, the Peshwaship almost came to an end. Although Peshwaship came to an end, but the ruler of Satara, the Chhatrapati Pratap Singh, was still ruling. And now what Britishers did, he again signed a treaty with him and appointed Grant Duff as an officer to assist him. And slowly he was dethroned and exiled to Kashi, where he died in 1847. Rangoji Bapu, a very loyal officer of Chhatrapati Pratap Singh, fought the legal battle and went to England. But Lord Dalhousie rejected the adoption policy and in 1848 he annexed the state of Satara into British Empire. So what is this adoption policy? According to this policy, a king or a ruler who had no legal heir and son, his kingdom will be annexed in British Empire. So now you can see the policies of Britishers. They just wanted to acquire the territory. They just wanted to capture the whole nation. For this, they used each and every strategy. So now we will see some of the works done by Chhatrapati Pratap Singh for the public welfare. He built a water tank on the backside of the Yukteswar temple and Mahadra in Satara state for the city, for the people of Satara. He also built roads, and trees were planted on both sides of the roads. He built many schools for boys and girls for teaching Sanskrit, Marathi and English. Printing press was set up and many useful books were published. A very famous book which was published in this press was Sabha Niti, a book on polity, in 1827. Roads from Satara to Mahabaleshwar to Pratapgarh were also built by him, which was his biggest contribution. The same road further extended to Mahad. After his death, his wife started a private library in Satara in 1851, and that was open to the public of Satara. This library is now known as Nagar Vachanalaya. So we can see during his tenure, he did a lot for the public. So now we have a quick review whatever we have covered today. Power struggle among European countries to establish their dominance in Indian market. Entry of the British in Maratha Empire after the death of Peshwa Madhav Rao. Opposition faced by them from Marathas. And 3 Anglo-Maratha wars from 1774 to 1880, and many treaties were also done. The subsidiary alliance and its conditions, which was introduced by Lord Wellesley, and Chhatrapati Pratap Singh of Satara and his work. So children, that's all for today. We will continue the same chapter in our next session. Thank you very much.
Children, you have now listened attentively to the explanation of the part 1. I hope you have understood it very clearly. It was very precise and very clear in a very nice language and very interesting way it was put forward to you. I hope you have understood it. Thank you.